are you today?
We're doing good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for meeting with me again today. I know our last meeting we kind of went over some truancy issues, grades declining with our children and some illicit drug use going on within the school district. So I thought that we could kind of address those issues again today and kind of figure out a way to maybe help them. Over the weekend, I found out a program at Illinois University, and basically they have this program called the Friendship Program. And it's kind of like Big Brother, Big Sister, except not all the kids come from single parenting homes. So basically what the program does is they have volunteers, and there's trainings that teach the volunteers how to work with the kids one-on-one. And basically, like I said, it's kind of like Big Brother, Big Sister, where they would have like a role model. And hopefully we'll see truancy rates start declining, grades going up, and drug use hopefully coming to a minimum. So what do you guys think about that?
I think it sounds really good.
Okay. I think though, in order to get the program started here, since we don't have anything like that in our district yet, that we should go over the Prepare model and then kind of see the pros and cons for it, and then see if we can kind of go from there.
Okay, good.
Okay, so if you guys know, the Prepare model has basically 7 steps to it. So I want to go through each one individually. Okay. Okay, so the first one for Prepare is P, which is identifying and quantifying a problem. So what do you think is the major issue for it?
Well, I think that the major issue is that these children in our school district are coming from turbulent or, broken homes. And like you had spoken about, every year we're realizing that the truancy rates are rising, and their grades are deteriorating, and we're seeing a lot more drug use in our schools right now. So I think that's the ultimate problem, or the P in Prepare.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so then the next step would be R, so review reality of the macro change.
Okay, so the reality of the change would be that our program could, obviously help these children, and it could be a huge success. Or it could be, the opposite end, where the kids aren't fully participating and making a positive impact on their own lives, or, we can't actually help these children. We're not helping them in schools. And we are also talking about we would need volunteers, correct?
Yes, we would.
Okay, so if we have volunteers, we could get people to come and participate and help these kids, but what if we can't find any volunteers? Then, what's our next step then? Because as of right now, we don't have any funding. And if we don't have any funding, then we could never pay anyone to come and help us. So if we can get volunteers, then hopefully we can start, working with them and, getting them training, the necessary training they need, and, working from there to help these children out. So I was thinking also maybe we could start fundraising for it if we can't get any state funding or anything along those lines, especially if we can't find people just to help us out.
Okay.
So I think that's the reality of our change. It can either be, one end or the other, so we can either help these kids and they'll participate, or just gonna basically fall through.
Yeah, and I think that's great that you're seeing again the pros and the cons to the program, because this is something that we want to make happen. And when we go off and address it to the superintendent and the principal and stuff like that, we're going to need to make sure that we've realized what could happen.
In reality, too, I don't feel like this program could hurt by any means. I feel that in this situation, the truancy, it's not like the attendance could go, obviously they could be skipping school more, but they're already missing days of classes, so I feel like it could only be beneficial.
Right, yeah, it's either going to stay the same or be beneficial.
Even if we help them, in a small way, I think it'll be great. If we get their attendance up,
it's better than affecting nobody.
Awesome. Well, I love that you guys have a positive attitude about that. So then let's go to E then, establishing primary goals.
So I feel that our primary goal for us would be to get this program up and running. I know we're gonna need some volunteers, like you had said. I know volunteers are really hard to come by, especially with people's schedules and today's society, and training sessions. I know the other program that had it, they offered training sessions for their volunteers, which is also going to be cost effective. And I feel that if we could even get the training or the resources for the training, maybe we could do part of the training to eliminate some of the costs.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
and then
I like that a lot.
Getting the days and hours together, setting a set goal that would be most accommodating to these children and to the volunteers as well, because transportation is going to be a problem then with kids coming if it's after school.
Right.
Finding out if there's any bus systems that do after school programs that could also just swing by here and pick them up, maybe if that's an option. And even for the volunteers, you never know if these volunteers may happen to be elder people who want to come in and help out children if they need transportation here as well. So I think that's something that we need to consider for our goals.
I think one other goal too, like you said, having older people do it instead of if we don't have like our high school students help
Mhm.
out, would be we need to establish some kind of goal to help people pay for their clearances and get that worked out as well.
True.
Because obviously we want this program to be safe for our kids.
It's true, we also need to think about the time too, with how long it takes for the clearances to come in so that this program could get up and running as quickly as possible
Right.
because of the time with the clearances and everything of that nature.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so then our next step is going to be P again, which is identifying people of influence and sources of power in the community. So who do you guys think that we could contact that could help us, reach our goal for this?
Well, we're gonna have to start at the top and speak with the superintendent and make sure that he's on board, and then speak with the principal and make sure that other school counselors are on board with this and willing to, participate. Parents of the students and make sure that they're okay with this.
Yeah, I think parents is a huge,
I think they should get
Right,
involved
it's-
too,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I think, don't
So I
forget,
think-
we also have to do like the liability act of being with their students because we're gonna be after school with them.
Yeah,
So you're
it's
gonna have to
their
have your
kids, so it's
parents.
like a safety thing, and these people are volunteers, so they're strangers potentially.
Right.
So there's like the trust thing, and then just other teachers, and they need to be keeping track of the students' progress.
Right.
I
No,
think
agree
that's
with that,
a
yeah.
great way to start. Cool. All right, so our next step in prepare is A, assess potential costs and benefits, which you had kind of spoken off about, training, and so did you. So how do you think if we need to do different trainings, how could we find out how to pay for these kind of things?
I said, maybe doing like some agency sponsors and stuff, maybe having an agency or some type of organization, just sponsor maybe one meeting. So we're not looking to have them fund everything, but maybe just support, maybe like they'll support this week's meetings and next week a different agency will support it because maybe they could contribute different ideas from each agency. So it could kind of be like a building block and build steps off of it in that aspect. And honestly, for the kids too, even doing fundraising, like having them do even things, something small, so that's more activities that we could do with these kids to show them that inclusion with the children could allow them better opportunities and different things to result to instead of doing, like at this young age of doing like drugs and stuff, maybe showing them like a sport or getting them involved in other activities, which could help with fundraising and meeting other kids to get them into different organizations.
Yeah, I actually think that's a great idea. Instead of us putting on the fundraisers, getting the kids involved and helping out with their own fundraisers. I think once we're able to get them in the program, get it up and running, and get them to, to like fall in love with the program, I think we could really get them involved, which would be a great idea.
Right, and I feel as if like if we start to grow, our community will see that and they will, bounce off that and, possibly help us with fundraising too. Or, give us some sort of, money or anything for it.
Or even talking to different agencies and maybe they have ideas of where they got funding from.
Right.
So even just getting the word out about the program, maybe other school districts would even be into it, and then maybe we could get it like governmentally funded or different things like that. So depending on how big we were able to make this, starting from somewhere but spreading the word about it could potentially allow for a lot of different fundraising and sponsoring.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that also though we could, I could probably contact people from Illinois and kind of ask how did they get their stuff running and up and going and stuff like that, and we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other as well.
I think that would benefit us really well.
So R would be next, which is evaluate professional and personal risk. So obviously this is not in our job titles, so we need to kind of go over the potential risks that could happen.
Right, so the biggest risk will be to us, and especially you, because it's not, right, like you said, it's not part of our job description. So if we're overstepping our boundaries and this is a fluke and doesn't work, that could potentially harm us. It's gonna make us look bad.
You could ultimately fall back on us.
Yeah,
that
so
way.
I guess my
Impact
biggest
us.
question though is how do you guys feel comfortable with, kind of doing this with me? And
I think it's an okay, I think we should take this risk because these kids really need help.
when I think it's our job as social workers too, as for the school district, is to help our kids and benefit them any way possible. So I really think, I appreciate you guys willing to be there behind me.
Yep. I'm
With the
definitely
risk
willing to do
for
it.
this though too is, I feel like, I know we're willing to take that risk, but if we got it into the school district too and had the support coming from the school and the social work, I think that this program could be more successful because then you'd have the teachers on board with it at school during the school hours and promoting different techniques that we teach them throughout this and then carrying it over into ours. So I potentially feel like the risk is not only on us, but on the teachers as well, and putting all of us into this, because the ultimate goal is to help the children.
Succeed, right,
I agree.
absolutely.
Okay, and so our last step now is evaluating the potential success of the macro change process. Like we had said, it can either go really, really good or it can go really, really bad depending on, how things go. So, what are your guys' thoughts with that?
I feel like we said before, if you help one kid, it's better than helping no one. I mean, if that one kid makes a change, then maybe his aspects could like rub off on someone else and he could influence someone else's life.
Yeah.
So if you have one person succeed in this group, then maybe it could potentially perform to like a bigger group, and one person can change a lot of things.
I agree.
I think it's a great idea.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I think that we talked about a lot of great things today. I think we went through the right steps to prepare. We identified everything that we needed to identify, and I think that we're able to now take our next step in going through with the program.
Okay, I agree.
All right.
Sounds
Thank you,
great.
guys.
All right.